Our first guest this morning is a gentleman that you probably have seen on many of the major television networks. He's also our author of some great articles on WorldNet Daily. Reza Kahlili is with us today. He served as the CIA Director of Operations, as a spy in the Iranian Revolution Guard, counterterrorism expert, and currently serves on the task force of the National and Homeland Security and Advisory Board authorized by Congress. As the author of the award-winning book called The Time to Betray, and like I said earlier, you probably have seen him on a lot of the various news programs, and today we are delighted to have Reza with us. Reza, nice to have you.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be on your program today.
Okay, you know, this subject today is so big, I hope we can cover it in the few moments that we have together, and that is the real threat of Hamas. And we're now seeing the unrest there in Israel and certainly in the Gaza area. Give us your quick synopsis of what's going on there.
Well, the Islamic regime ruling Iran ever since the Islamic Revolution has been arming and training proxies in the region with the goal of expanding power, threatening Israel and the Western civilization. So they have been arming Hamas. Hamas has over 12,000 rockets, and as I revealed, some of them are the Fajr-5 missiles, which are built by the Revolutionary Guards. And actually, after those missiles were launched at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, the Revolutionary Guards bragged about their capability, that despite the Iron Dome, they were able to help Hamas to reach that distance and threaten Israel's security. Now, the arming goes on continuously, and Hezbollah has over 60,000 rockets now. They're trying to create the same circumstances in Gaza.
Well, is this current unrest, Reza, a somewhat of a subterfuge so that Israel would be distracted from going in and taking out Iran's nukes?
Well, the thing is, I think both Israel and Iran are trying to send signals to each other, and the war has already begun. It's just on another scale, which they're trying to analyze each other's strength. As you know, Israel attacked the arms factory in Sudan, which belongs to the regime in Iran, and that's how they were arming Hamas through Gaza. And so I think by this act, through Hamas, the regime in Iran was trying to send a signal to Israel that should it attack, then it could become under attack from several fronts, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and then obviously hundreds of ballistic missiles from Iran. I think we're going to see a lot of conflicts in the future as these two evaluate each other. But Israel feels definitely cornered right now.
All right. So what damage has each other done to themselves, or to each other, I should say, during this recent conflict? Is it true that Hamas did hit some military items of Israel, and how much damage did Israel do to some of those tunnels there in the Gaza area?
But, you know, unfortunately, we've seen over and over again, despite what Israel does, there is always other tunnels and how they rebuild it. Already there is news that the Revolutionary Guard are present in Gaza trying to rebuild some of what has been lost and trying to rearm Hamas. So it's a continuous effort, and it's a tiring effort. I mean, Israel really can't confront this threat every day as they've done for the past several decades. It's going to become very tiring for them. And as we have seen, despite what Israel has done and what the world community has done through UN, after the 2006 war with Israel, Hezbollah has been rearmed with 60,000 rockets and drones. I mean, just imagine how does such supply take place without everybody knowing and without everybody being able to stop it. So I think that it will come to the confrontation between Israel and Iran, and we got to understand that the Iranian people, majority of the Iranian people, love America, love Israel. They're westernized, and I think we need to lay the foundation in helping them, uniting them, giving them hope, so we can bring change from within.
What's your take of the re-election of Obama and how that may play out now in Iran, and also even with the conflict between Israel and Iran?
But the thing is, there's been an analysis within the regime in Iran that the Obama administration has stood in front of Israel. That's the reason Israel has not attacked. They were weary of a Romney election. Because they thought that he would move more toward Israel. So now there's an understanding that as long as President Obama is in the White House, Israel cannot attack. And at the same time, there's an understanding that Israel is left alone and is weak and even cannot confront Hamas. And so they feel emboldened. And as I've put out a recent piece on Washington Times, President Obama needs to send the strong signals where they do not underestimate our resolve, because otherwise the very war that we want to avoid is going to be the very war that we're going to have.
Well, they're operating under a somewhat of a ceasefire at the moment. I don't know if that's going to hold. I'd like to get your comment on that. But let's say Hamas breaks the ceasefire. I mean, you can't expect Israel to just sit there.
Well, of course, and Israel knows that. I mean, we've seen these kind of skirmishes over and over again for years and years. I mean, Islamic Jihad could start shooting rockets or launching mortars into Israel. We could see terrorists doing that through the Sinai Desert. The regime in Iran has so many proxies, and it could create any, skirmishes at any time. And so this is their plan for the destruction of Israel, keeping the conflict going, keeping the skirmishes going, arming the proxies, expanding the proxies. And with what's happening in Egypt, it's quite alarming because of the Muslim Brotherhood trying to consolidate power, and this only points to troubled times in near future.
It's somewhat mind-boggling to me, Reza, why Israel just doesn't go in there and take out those tunnels. I mean, wouldn't that stop the flow of some of the arms and improve the situation a little bit?
But they've been in Gaza before. I believe it was 2009 when they went in and destroyed some of the tunnels and got into a fight with the Hamas fighters. But you see, as long as the regime in Iran keeps on supplying them, rebuilding them, spending money, as long as the others in the neighboring countries, the Arab world, support Hamas and provide hundreds of millions of dollars, this thing keeps on coming back. And so it is a struggle for Israel. And I think the biggest problem in the region is the regime in Iran. And if we could somehow help the Iranian people to bring change, then we would see a different geopolitics in the region where Hezbollah and Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and others will lose that revenue, lose that support, and they become weakened.
All right, tell us about your book, The Time to Betray. Give us a little of insight on it, and where can people get a copy?
Well, they can get the book either on my website at timetobetray.com, where all my articles and op-eds are, or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's about my story, how I became a spy, what I did, and the information I passed, and the ideology of the regime, and the Iranian people. So it's my life story.
Okay. Does Hamas have a weak link anywhere, in your opinion?
Well, Hamas, it's dependent on the funds and arms of other governments. If we can stop that flow, then they'll become definitely weakened. There was an effort to help the Palestinian authorities to gain power, but unfortunately Gaza was lost, and that's where the problems are. I think this thing is so complex and so complicated that resolving this issue would definitely need everyone's participation. But as long as this Islamic regime in Iran rules, I don't think we can come to any solution on it.
Do you think that a two-state Israel would ever work?
Well, again, you got to understand that Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamic regime in Iran, they do not recognize Israel's right to existence even. So not only they don't recognize Israel as a sovereign state, they do not accept its existence. So they're sworn to the destruction of Israel. So again, as long as these characters are there won't be a solution. The two-state solution, in my opinion, is a good solution. But the other party, the Palestinians, there is no authority. There is no solid control over the different factions, the Fatah, the Hamas, and others. And that's why there's a kind of anarchy. It's like the Wild West.
I've always said that a two-state solution really doesn't do anything when the agenda doesn't change, and that is to annihilate Israel.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, the book is entitled A Time to Betray, and you can go to atimetobetray.com, check it out, and look at Reza's other articles and op-ed pieces. Also, check it out at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. I think you'll find it to be a pretty interesting read, to say the least. Reza, thank you for your time. I value it greatly. Best to you, and keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
God bless.